We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. Interesting conversation. You see the question about church security. You're like, what? Well, obviously, you know, we've seen cases where there have been fatal shootings in churches. The biggie most recently, Charleston, but our guest, Bill Janelle, just, recited several statistics that kind of stunned me about how many incidents there have been in churches. He is one of the founding members of Agape Tactical, which is an organization that helps train churches specifically, in security. And we're talking about training for active shooters in the building. And it's part of my special report that'll be airing tonight at 6 o'clock that really takes you inside it. And some of those statistics you gave about how many, and here's some of the video you're going to see from what we see. Take a look there, Bill. I mean, it's, that's a real gun firing simunitions, and that is a airsoft gun, but this is some of the actual training without giving away too much of your tactical secrets. But these are church members, and this is in a church. And what goes down and how they play it out and some of the details. Do you think this is over the top? Is it too much? Is it something you think that would be right for your church? But that's part of what you're going to see. And it was very intense. Now, when you gave the statistics, I was wondering, you talk about incidents in a church. I would imagine some of them are by strangers that just walk in and show up like they did in Charleston. But I would guess the vast majority of them are perpetrated by members of the church that had some kind of disagreement with someone else, right? And I would think that's even harder. You can work the door and see a stranger walk in with a bag, and that's fine. You'll be welcoming, but you're going to keep an eye on him because you don't know who he is. But if it's someone that's been there forever who all of a sudden has a problem, you're not going to maybe be as diligent about watching a church member, which you shouldn't be.
And that's exactly right. For example, out of that, in the last 16 years, out of that 1,018, there were 232 of those that actually involved someone that was connected to the ministry.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I thought it would be higher than that.
Not counting those that were just congregational members.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yes, that does happen. And when we train, we don't train just for guns and knives. Okay? We will do come in and do a complete analysis of your place of worship, and in that analysis we will let you know what you need to do to secure that building, to secure your people. We'll let you know what you need to do to secure your children. Our number one objective is to take care of the kids.
Okay,
that's number one, above everything else. Once the kids are secure and we feel that they're secure, then naturally we will take care of everything else. But there's no greater security than our children.
Sure, that's priority one. Let's go to Tommy. Tommy, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Actually, I've kind of struggled with this decision on this. Now, where I am a member of the church, it's a small church, and it sits way back off the road. The church has been broken into, and they have stole the copper out of our heating and air units before. And we've installed security doors in the church, and I've been a greeter for several years, and they wanted me to lock the door after we felt like the last person was in, but I would not lock the door. I said, if you want to have somebody else do it, you can. But my thing is, and where I have a problem with, if you believe God is sovereign, then I'm not sure we need to even worry about this, that He is in control. We look at people all over the world in different countries, day in and day out, that's willing to give their lives just to be able to meet together and to study God's Word. And so here, I don't know, now we're afraid to do anything, or actually afraid to lay our lives down for the gospel. So, I'm kind of caught in between there. I understand where this is coming from, and I actually have a carry permit, but I don't carry the church. But anyway, I don't know. Like I say, I'm just kind of hung in between there, but I do appreciate this this program. It's a good topic.
Tommy, thank you very much for your call. I think it's a very interesting call because
Yes.
I kind of hear what he's saying. You touched on it.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Absolutely, and good point, Tommy. In addition to my background of being a retired law enforcement officer, I'm also the senior adult pastor at our church.
Okay.
So I can speak to this maybe where somebody from the outside might not be able to. I'm a strong believer that God is there to protect us. God will protect us. God will take care of us. I also believe and know that God gives us an extra sense that when the hairs go up on the back of our neck, we need to pay attention. One of the things that we want to do in any house of worship is have a feeling of welcome to anyone that comes in. We do. We want to do that. At the same time, we have to use certain precautions. One of the things that Tommy alluded to was the fact of locking doors.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What, you think that's a good idea after the congregation's in?
Many churches are doing that now, that they're locking their doors and having maybe one entrance in and one entrance out. Locking the front door, that's entirely up to the congregation. That's up to the individual church. But I would strongly recommend that if they don't lock the door, that they at least have someone at the front door. That's a deterrent. When you go into a church, the first deterrent is the parking lot. If you have parking lot attendants out there, those people need to know what to look for, have eyes and ears. They don't have to be on your safety team by any means. Those are greeters. The second line is the greeters at the door, very simply. And all of those people should be trained on what to look for. Suspicious things. An example would be it's 100 degrees in the summertime and somebody shows up in a trench coat.
Sure.
This is something we need to look for. Right. And from that point, your ushers need to be trained. And again, these are not people that are necessarily carrying. These are not people that are necessarily on your safety team. These are not people that have been trained in tactical movements. These are people that have been trained in what do I look for.
Yeah. You know, the last caller talked about how his is a small church.
Yes.
Now, Agape Tactical, of course, as anything, is a business, okay?
Sure.
And it costs money to get this type of training. And you know as well as I do, some, especially the smaller churches, don't have the resources to have your whole team come in and do it. So, I mean, how can you help smaller churches as well? I understand the big ones with the resources and a lot of members in the congregation maybe would bring you guys in.
Sure.
What about smaller ones?
Smaller churches, what we'll do in that case is that we will try to gather together in a geographical location.
They come from all around.
A group of the smaller churches, and we'll do the training for a group of smaller churches
at one central location
for the same price that we would do for one large church, for example. So they could come together, and right here in the Nashville area, we have a lot of areas that have smaller churches. And again, they may not be able to afford this, but we can bring together 10, 15, 20 churches at a time.
And that's kind of what I witnessed when I came out and experienced the training with you. There were, I don't know, gosh, there must have been at least 60 people there. There was a lot of folks, and they were from all around. And that's not counting the instructors and how it all plays out. The biggest thing I wonder about these preparations for any kind of active shooter is how you can best prepare for the surprise attack. And it almost always is a surprise attack, unless you get some kind of early warning because you see the guy in the trench coat. It's a surprise attack, and the thinking is, unfortunately, in the absence of metal detectors to detect some kind of weapon, which, you know, we're not there yet, you know, he's going to get off a shot or two. He's going to get off. He may kill one or two. But the idea then is to maybe keep him from killing those additional 4, 5, 6 others. Yeah. Right? That's the scariest thing for me.
I keep referring back to the South Carolina shootings that, for one reason, it's very recent in our minds. We're still thinking about it, and a tragic
thing
to happen. In that particular case, there were 9 people that were killed. That could have possibly been 1 or 2. Had they been prepared and had they had someone that was trained in that room at the time, there's a possibility that could have stopped.
I mean, you just don't know, but at least there may have been the chance, maybe.
The chance. Now, Is it possible to stop these crazy people that are going to come in and they are there bent on doing harm?
Especially if they don't care about dying themselves. That's especially scary.
That's exactly right. Is it possible to prevent all of that? No. Is it possible to bring that more into focus with there's less of a chance of it happening? Yes. And that's through training. That's through them understanding and knowing that this particular church over here, they've got a safety team that they don't have to wait for the police officers to get there. Mm-hmm. They may very well go to someplace else. Now, we don't want them going any place, but that could very well happen, yeah.
On that note, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back with our final segment. This hour goes fast, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. We'll take a break. If you have a question or comment, 737-7587. More with our guest about church security and how far your congregation wants to go. We'll be back right after this.